Welcome to the Bank Tellers, where we speak to senior leaders from banks all over the world. I'm Ian Horne, EU Head of Content at Money 2020, and today I'm joined by Emma Hagan, CEO of ClearBank. So, Emma, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. So to kick us off, tell us a bit about yourself and also about ClearBank.
Yeah, so I've been with ClearBank for nearly 4.5 years now, and in the UK CEO role, probably for about 6 weeks officially. And before that, Chief Risk Officer for ClearBank. Really enjoyed my time so far and been in financial services and banking for about 20 years. And ClearBank in particular has been a really exciting opportunity in my career. It's the first clearing bank in the UK for 250 years, completely different business model, cloud native, API native, serving financial institutions in the UK, and most recently, as we announced earlier this year, in Europe as well, as we got our banking license in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I mean, the listeners can hear two British accents here. We love our tradition, don't we?
We do.
250 years for a new clearing bank to be announced, but obviously ClearBank is a different kind of bank. So for those listening in, can you talk us through what makes it different?
One of the unique parts, and this is why ClearBank was founded, was that there were only a handful of clearing banks and it was all built off legacy systems. So no new technology, and particularly in the UK, when ClearBank was founded, there were a lot of kind of neo-banks, new payment institutions who were all built on new technology. So the unique thing was that cloud-native, API-driven access to all the payment schemes, so real-time settlement. But also one of the unique factors around ClearBank's business model is that we don't lend.
Yeah.
So all of our focus is really on payments and accounts for our clients. And that's been a pretty unique part of the model from day one. And the other part that we also focus on is embedded banking. And that we're one of the main providers and the biggest provider of embedded banking in the UK through partnerships with companies like Tide and Chip and Raisin and Wealthify, kind of offering more choice to consumers and SMEs in the UK market.
Yeah, so really powering our kind of wave of fintech in the UK, which is still doing very strong in Europe. I think the UK still leads the way for fintech funding, so we've got a healthy market, right? So let's go to ClearBank's kind of history. You've founded, 2016, 2017, around that kind of time, right? Which of them years was correct?
2016, but they're licensed in the kind of full launch 2017.
Got you. That's why I was confused. Anyway, so since between then and now, like we're in 2024, what have been the key kind of pivotal moments in the journey for ClearBank?
There's been a few. Probably one of the real moments when we think about where we are today, and particularly in the embedded banking side, was the Tide partnership. And that was really sitting down and kind of almost inventing what embedded banking was in the UK with Tide.
And they look after about like 10% of the UK's SMEs, right?
Yeah, and growing all the time, really exciting. And so again, a real competitor to the mainstream banks. We also launched earlier this year in partnership with Tide, savings product for those SMEs as well. Again, offering really great rates to SMEs in the UK through a variety of products. And that's really gone from strength to strength. We've added more embedded banking clients over that period as we've seen it be really successful. So that was a really important moment for us because it really kind of set us on the path that we're on today. I think one of the other moments for us was when we got the Apex funding a couple of years ago now, and that was really something that was driven by seeing the proven business model that we had. We got through kind of COVID times, and we were seeing the proof point in terms of the Tide partnership take off. We were seeing lots of FI and new FIs in the market coming and choosing ClearBank as the provider of choice. And then getting that funding to really kind of pivot into Europe and take that business model overseas was a really big moment for us.
Yeah, and actually you mentioned getting through that COVID period. That was actually a real moment for the digitalization of financial services too. So you say get through it, but was that not actually a kind of good moment for you guys?
It was a mix. It was a really mixed period because on the one hand, you're right, there was a huge movement towards digital payments. And so for us as a kind of digital player in that market, it was a really big moment. So we saw increasing volumes through that period and the continued growth of our clients who were really optimized for that type of environment. But equally on the same side, you had the people impact as everybody kind of transitioned into home working and obviously working through kind of operational resilience plans, business continuity, which was tough, and then interest rates really falling. And obviously we don't do that kind of fractional business model lending. So all of our deposits are kept at the Bank of England. And so we suddenly went from a kind of normalized interest rate environment to pretty much zero. And that was a pretty big impact on the business model. So it's such a unique period. And we come out the other side, and it was great. And really getting through that and being successful still through that period was a really great proof point again of why that business model really kind of stood the test of time, was sustainable.
Yeah, and I may have actually gotten you to inadvertently answer this question, but what was the kind of challenge moment when you think back to the 7 years of growth? And ClearBank's story has been a real growth story, right? But has there been a particular moment or incident which really provided a challenge and a moment of are we doing the right thing? Are we moving in the right direction?
I think it's one of those things where you're doing something so different to everybody else in the market. You have that moment where you say, are we doing the right thing? Is this the right business model? Because it was unique. Everybody else was in that model of collecting deposits and lending them out. And focus on kind of a broad base of services. And we were very narrow in the focus. We were there to provide that payment, account, instant clearing, and the embedded banking piece. And so that was the kind of, are we doing the right thing in terms of, we're the only ones here doing this? We've seen some people now looking at entering the market with a very similar business model, seeing what we've done and following on. And again, that for us is an interesting point in that people are actually looking to replicate that model because they see that we've made a success of it. But it's a really niche focus. I think that's the part where you keep asking yourself, are we doing the right thing? But actually the way that clients have reacted, if you like, to the services we provide, I think that's been really fantastic for us to see.
Yeah, I feel like we keep preempting questions here. So I want to look at what makes you kind of different, because obviously we speak to different banks here, and often I think the challenge for a lot of kind of retail or other business banks is how you set yourself apart from the competition, how you do something differently. Obviously, ClearBank is quite a different bank, but even so, like, what would you describe as being your secret sauce?
I think for us, it's we've got great technology. And that is really the founding part of what ClearBank was. It was a technology-driven bank. And so I think it's that combination of fantastic technology that we keep iterating on and improving with fantastic people. And really that's kind of who's the clients are interacting with at kind of that first point of call. So that combination of fantastic people who all believe in the mission combined with great technology.
Yeah, and why would like a fintech that you're working with choose you over someone else? What's your pitch?
I think for us, it's that you can have an API-driven experience. Most of the new players in the market really are building on that newer technology, and we're the only real choice in the market for somebody who can provide that to you. So you don't have to worry about the kind of back-end infrastructure piece. We take care of all of that. And you don't have to worry about it. You can focus on your customers. We'll provide all the payment access into all the schemes, the account setup, and you'll get everything you need just from that one stop. And as we touched on, we keep all of the deposits at the Bank of England in GBP. And so again, you don't have to worry about where your cash is.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously when you launched, and you still is quite a new idea, as you say, first clearing bank in 250 years in the UK, cloud enabled, all of that kind of stuff. How do you maintain that spirit of innovation? How do you stay on top and kind of make sure you maintain this cutting edge against other banks?
So we have a really fantastic technology team, but we also spend quite a lot of time not only in terms of maintaining what we've got, but also looking at what else is out there and how we can use the latest technology or new innovations to really, again, drive a better customer experience and launch new products, etc. So we're really looking all the time at both kind of maintaining that great position we've got, but also looking at what else is out there.
Yeah, and does that mean buying other tech or partnering with people ever?
For us, it's any one of build, buy, or partner. And it really depends on what it is that we're doing, and also whether or not that's the core of our expertise. So if we're looking, for example, in the financial crime space, there are some fantastic companies out there who that's their real specialism, and you do need to be deep in the market. We're far more likely to either buy or partner there. Whereas the core banking platform, that's really our secret sauce to the earlier point. Yeah. And so actually we invest, and that's really knowledge that we have internally, and therefore we're going to focus on that from a kind of build perspective.
Yeah, and at the start of that answer, you were talking about having the tech talent at your company, and I think that's actually something that might become more and more of a battleground for banks. So how are you appealing to that top level talent?
We look at that all the time, and we do quite a lot of work around our employee value proposition and culture. And I think the culture is part of what attracts people to what we're doing. So we are quite different. I think that naturally acts as a little bit of attractor for talent, but also that opportunity to feel really empowered and trusted in what you're doing and to make a difference.
Yeah.
And we see that quite a lot in terms of how candidates, just generally outside of the technology team, look at coming to ClearBank. They see what we're doing and that we're trying to change the face of financial services, and that's really appealing to somebody who's looking to really see the impact of what they do. We're still a relatively small company, and so you really can make a difference.
Got you. And when it comes to innovative technology, I mean, we're in a world we're surrounded by hype and noise. You know, we had a big theme at our Europe show last year of signal versus noise, speaking to things like the waves of crypto or blockchain or quantum or the metaverse or whatever. I mean, there's substance behind all these things, but also loads and loads of distractions. So my question to you is, which innovative tech are you investing in at the moment, and how do you make the decision to go in on something new?
I think it's not necessarily like one big decision. I think we're out there looking and working and talking to partners all the time and clients in particular about what's interesting. So we're looking for where there's value. And that might be, for example, in AI in specific use cases. It's not necessarily AI is everything's going to be about AI now.
I didn't even mention AI in that list of hypey things. I think I've just said AI so many times over the last few months, years, whatever. But sorry.
Every conversation involves AI at the moment.
Seriously.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily about AI changing everything all at once. It's more about kind of targeted deployment of AI to really help automate and move away from services that don't add any value from a people perspective. So we look at that. We're also pretty interested in digital assets. Again, if we think about what we do, payment, moving money, and stores of value, digital assets fits quite neatly with our strategy. And so it's kind of not sort of looking at technology for technology's sake. It's really, that aligns quite closely to our strategy in terms of the digital version of the fiat space we operate in today. And so again, looking at how might we use distributed ledger technology or blockchain to really, again, provide something different to our clients and complementary to the strategy.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. So let's now talk leadership. I mean, you were appointed CEO earlier this year, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously selected for your leadership skills. What I would like to know is, it comes to your own career, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I think it was probably a few years ago now, and a boss I was working for said that the skills and experience I had to that point weren't going to be the things that were going to be driving me forward in my career in the future. And what they really meant was, you get to a point in your career where you're valued and you have been valued and promoted for your technical expertise, and it's really that's gotten you to that point. But when you move beyond that, it's the other skills, so the leadership type skills and the communication that is really the differentiator then. And so the technical skills are still valuable, but they're kind of less of a priority than those other types of skills.
Is it a bit of a wrench to let go of those things that you're really competent at and you've gotten used to doing?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge, really uncomfortable, uncomfortable.
I can imagine, yeah. All right, on to ClearBank as well. Again, leadership of ClearBank. I mean, if you had to pick one priority for ClearBank over the next 12 months, what would you say that it is?
Well, one priority is really hard. I think for us, we've got so much opportunity, and we look now at the kind of pipeline of companies that we're looking to work with, and we've recently announced the Visa partnership, and it's really about delivering and executing on all of those things we have in front of us. And so we know what we're going to be trying to do over the next 12 months, and it's focusing on getting that done.
Yeah, and you announced that literally today, right?
I did, yeah.
Great. So when I obviously spoke to you before we were on camera, you said, oh yeah, we've had a nice relaxed day relative to yesterday that was really busy. So who announces a Visa partnership on a relaxed day? I mean, Emma Hagan, clearly. Anyway, look, what advice would you give to someone who aspires to be in your position one day?
I think for me, it's always been about, and I say this to a lot of the people that ask me this question, is being really open to opportunities and open to learning and being super curious. Because I think getting the biggest breadth of experience and exposure you can really helps you to work out, A, what are you good at? and try and find something that really matches with that, and B, what do I really enjoy and I'm passionate about? And without that kind of exposure, it's really hard to narrow down what you want to do and where you want to do it. And I think for me, that's been a big driver of kind of where I've got to today and how I found somewhere that I really love to work.
Yeah, I like that point of actually having to try it yourself and then getting an idea, because I imagine a lot of people see what you're doing and like the idea of being in your role, but perhaps the reality of it maybe not so fun. I don't know. Anyway, we move on to the rapid fire segment. I love that because it makes it sound like a quiz show. And I think deep down I've always wanted to be a quiz show host, so just bear with me, indulge me. So if you weren't in fintech or financial services, which career would you be in?
I think it'd be something to do with animals. I think probably an animal sanctuary of some description.
I like that. That's a good answer. And describe your leadership style in 3 words.
Transparent, driven, and calm. And I had a third word that was different to that, but then I got some feedback from some of the team. They said calm.
As in, that's what they think of you versus what you're trying to. Got you. Here's a spicy one. If there's a regulation or a policy you could change that would significantly improve the banking industry, what would that be?
I think it's something that we've been talking about for a little while, and it's that focus on innovation and competition in the market. And it's probably less of a change, more of a kind of pushing it up the agenda. Yeah.
Well, a bit like we've had here with the Open Banking 1033 rule, right? Yeah, exactly that. And also, and let's go outside of financial services here, unless it is financial services, but what's the first app you check in the morning?
It's the weather app.
The weather app. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I live in London, so
well, you know it's going to be bad then. It's predictably terrible.
It is. It's what version of terrible it is.
Well, that's true. Okay, so you have the global ecosystem of money listening into this podcast. I'm going to flatter our listener numbers there. But what's one thing you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think from a leadership perspective, being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's really good. And Emma, you've made it through. It's been really fun speaking to you. Really great lessons in leadership and great to learn more about ClearBank. So thank you so much. That's it for this edition of the Bank Tellers. We'll see you next time.